Welcome back to the Freelancers Tea Break, the short and sweet podcast for freelancers to enjoy with a cuppa. So, this week's episode is answering a question I had a while ago over email. The question was, do you charge for admin time, and what do you do if the admin time starts to spiral? Now, this is a really interesting one, as some admin tasks are not worth charging for and are kind of expected to be swallowed up by your own time. So, for example, emails and sending invoices, those are things that would be part of your time rather than charging your client for it. But other tasks like client calls and meetings can really rack up. It's important to set the boundaries for what's acceptable to happen before a client project starts. And it can get even more complicated if a potential client starts asking for lots of calls and meetings before you've even begun working with them. So there are a few things you can do in these situations. Now, the first thing is, when it comes to meetings, offer clients the option of a Skype or Zoom call for free and have a time limit on that. You can still offer them the option of an in-person meeting, but travel expenses will be applied, especially if they are quite a long journey away. If it's somewhere that is on your way, it might be worth considering, but you still want to have some kind of time limit on that so they're not picking your brains for half a day. More often than not, people prefer to go for a video call, which is quicker and saves money. The next thing is, what if they want to have several long calls with you and they still don't seem very decisive? Firstly, it's worth having a time limit on your initial discovery call, so say 20 to 30 minutes. You can also cut down on the time that you're spending on those initial calls by sending out some kind of questionnaire or a set of questions that you want them to answer before you jump on the call, because it means you can jump straight in. You know exactly what they want and you can tailor it to that. If they want a second call, make it clear what the time restraints are again. So you could say, I'd be happy to jump on a 15-minute call to discuss any final questions you might have. If they want a third call, and this doesn't happen very often, but occasionally you'll get someone like that. It doesn't necessarily mean they're messing you around, it just might mean they're quite indecisive. If they want a third call, I would firstly ask over email what their final reservations are. And if they really, really want another final call, tell them, I can jump on a call at X time, but I will need a final decision by the end of the call. Next, when it comes to calls and meetings during a client project, it's worth checking in before to see if they are requiring those kind of things. So are they expecting you to jump on a group call each week, or do they want to have a one-to-one every Monday to see what's going to happen that week? For meetings, especially ones that you'll have to travel a distance for, you should be billing for the time and the travel. You can't work for anyone else during that time, so there's no point giving away that time for free. One final tip is set your working hours and don't answer calls or emails outside of that. Unfortunately, if you let it happen at the start of the project, it becomes the expectation and your boundaries will continue to be pushed. If they insist on meetings or calls outside your hours, make sure you include an overtime rate in your terms and conditions, and something in there about giving notice for if you will be required to work at the weekends and things like that. So that's a few things that you can do, and it is a tricky one, and I haven't even touched on, I think there's a whole other episode, what about pitching for work and sending pictures and things like that. That's a whole other episode which I will touch on soon. But do you charge for admin time? What do you do when calls or meetings are more than you thought, or they stack up to a lot more? Do come over to the Facebook group, the Freelance Lifestylers, and come let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed this episode. To find out a little bit more about the freelance lifestyle, hop on over to freelancelifestyle.co.uk.